Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Sarah Fenske. The duo Black Violin released their new album, Take the Stairs, on November 1st. The group combines classical music and hip-hop. Its members have been described by PBS as two former high school orchestra nerds who use their love of Bach and Beethoven to reimagine classical music and connect with new audiences. And they're doing it with strings. Let's listen to a cut from Take the Stairs. It's called Show Off. That's Black Violin's Show Off. On it, Kevin Sylvester, who's better known as Kev Marcus, plays violin, and Wilner Baptiste, who's better known as Will B, plays the viola. The two joined us in studio Sunday in advance of their show that night at the Two Hill. Kev Marcus and Will B, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So, Kev, this feels like a really unusual combination. What leads a musician to say, you know what, let's try to combine classical and hip-hop?
I mean, I think it was a lot about, our background. We grew up listening to hip hop, loving hip hop, especially in the late 90s, and we studied classical music in middle school and high school at a really high level. So, for us, the opportunity kind of presented itself. We would play classical music on top of like hip hop beats and people would lose their mind. And then at that point, it was just like, well, how do we make a career out of this, and how do we package this emotion that people are feeling and travel around the world and sell it to them, and that's kind of how we came about it. So it's very natural for us to do this.
Will, this idea of people losing their mind, are these people who are young people like you two, or is it more like old ladies who love classical music are suddenly dancing in the aisles?
You'll be surprised, everybody. We've had old people with canes, jumping out, throwing the cane down and having a good time. So it's across the board. It doesn't matter where you're from, your background. Everybody seems to just are drawn to our music, So, Kev, you had an interview with NPR, and you said that both hip-hop and classical music are, in a lot of ways, party music. They're party music for different eras. I love that idea. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, back in the day, somebody would roll up on Mozart and be like, look, I need a new, waltz or a new serenade or a sarabande or a minuet for this party that I'm throwing, with all the countess and the duchess of all of it, of wherever. And that's basically what it was. It's like, especially Mozart, when they're commissioning things, it's really for a big ball, or back with Bach, it was more religious, but it was still always like, we need something done for this, Mm-hmm. Now it's just, now that, DJs are that, and that's the difference. You go to a DJ or a producer or something and be like, look, I need that new heat, and it's just different eras, but the format is still the same, and the way that music is commissioned, is still for the same purpose. It's just different types of genres now.
Mm-hmm. So I want to hear about your musical journeys, just because I think this is really interesting that you picked up on those commonalities that people have been missing for as long as hip-hop has been in existence. Will, let's start with you. Tell us about your musical journey. Did you start with the viola?
I did, actually. I started the viola. I played the violin for like a day.
What made you switch?
Everyone was ignoring the viola, so I was like, listen, I'm not going to play this for long, so let me pick up this thing that everyone seems to hate. So I picked it up, and 24 years later, I'm still playing it.
So tell us about the viola. It is an instrument that I think most of us can't even picture in our head when we hear the name of it. What is it like, and why do you think it's been sort of neglected?
Because it doesn't have the solos. If you think about the string section, you got the violin, viola, the cello, the bass. The cello kind of provides that tenor, that bass and nice, and the bass, obviously the bass, and the violin has the solos and the prettiness, and the viola is just like the stepchild in the corner. It's like, please pick me, you know what I mean? So that's just historically how it's always been, and I'm just an oddball anyway. So if everybody's running this way, I'm like, man, I'm running this way. That's just me. So we fell in love and been together ever since. Yeah.
And even as you got really proficient at this, you were never tempted to switch to a more prominent instrument?
No, I mean, I think, at a very early age, playing the viola just made me feel different. I love how it made me feel. And I do play a lot of different other instruments, but I never was thinking about dropping that and picking something else. You know what I mean? I was always still drawn to it.
What other instruments do you play?
Play a little keyboard, a little guitar, a little bass guitar, a little trumpet, a little drums, a little something.
Okay, yeah, that's
vocals,
that's impressive. Kev, tell me about your musical journey. You've got the violin, and that is the star instrument that gets the solos. Were you drawn to that right from the get-go?
Well, my mother made me drawn to it at the very beginning, I guess. She made me do it at the very beginning. But I played violin for maybe like 4 years, and then in high school I switched to viola, actually, because I'm a big guy, and viola is a little bit bigger than the violin. And honestly, my teacher was like, "Look, you can get a full scholarship on viola. Nobody is nice on viola." So I switched because I was really all about trying to get a college scholarship. And then so I got my degree in viola performance. So we're both violists. But then when we put this group together, somebody had to play violin. Somebody has to take that. So we flipped a coin. I lost, and now I play violin.
Is that right? It literally came down to a coin flip.
Basically,
and both of you wanted the viola. You're both oddballs.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess.
Because I mean, again, it's like everyone. There's so much competition on violin. There's not a lot of nice viola players. So even now, I'm mad that he got the viola, because it's like, yeah, I'm the violinist in the group, but I got to compete with Joshua Bell and all of these great violinists. He's the best viola player in the world. Just by default. So it's just sort of but I'll take it. And then black viola wouldn't have sounded good anyway. So,
I mean, you make a really good point there. So for people who are not as well versed in the viola, everybody, of course, knows how the violin sounds. Tell us a little bit about the difference between these two instruments. How is your sound different with a viola and a violin versus if you just had two violins?
Well, it's kind of like, if you're familiar with the chorus, it's just kind of like the soprano and the alto. It's basically the difference between the two. And obviously, like Kev said earlier, the viola is much bigger. Not much bigger, but bigger. You know what I'm saying? There's different sizes to it. You can go all the way up to 17-inch, which is just pretty massive, right? Which is something I'm looking for, actually. So, yeah, that's pretty much the difference. It's a fifth lower, and the violin's a fifth higher. So it's lower, it's prettier, it's just better, all the way around.
So tell me about the process then of working hip hop into these two stringed instruments. What does that sound like? Do you have an idea of what track that you want to add, and then go from where do you start?
It starts different places. Sometimes, like that song Show Off, for instance, that song started with the violin lick, and it was just I just liked the lick, and I was just, I was like, we're going to find some way to make this a song. And then once I, laid down the lick, Will and I got together and kind of put the beat together. And then, so that one was kind of, the violin drove that one, But then there's other songs that, like A Flat, which is our most popular song ever. That song, for instance, it was a DJ of ours, DJ Infamous, he gave us this beat, and we were like, man, this beat is crazy, let's throw some violins on it. And then 30 minutes later the song was done, and now it's our most popular song. So it comes different ways. We try not to limit how creation is really embarked upon, so we just come at it, and however it comes out is how it comes out.
Let's listen to another cut from your new album. This song that we're going to play is called One Step.
Standing on a landmine and we're singing hallelujah. Thrown into the end times and we're singing hallelujah. Gonna take my for the future. Baby, take my for the future. One step to the future. Been down but I've been strong. Don't right when you don't know. But it's no one step to the future, step to the future. Been down, but I've been strong. This time it's a new song. Thought I lost, but I still won. One step to the future, step to the future. Yeah.
And that's One Step. It's from Black Violin's new album, Take the Stairs. And we're talking to Black Violin today in studio. That's Kevin Sylvester, better known as Kev Marcus, and Wilner Baptiste, better known as Will B. They have a show at the Two Hill. And so this song, One Step, this sounds a little bit different than the other song that we played. Tell us how this one came together.
Well, yeah, we were working with this producer. His name is Phil Berdrew, sorry. And amazing, talented producer. And basically, you know, we were in the studio and he presented this song. It wasn't completely finished yet. We didn't add a lot of different pieces to it, the piano and the strings. But we were very much drawn to the song, just the concept of it, just the idea of taking that next step to the future, no matter what. You know, if you're being thrown down on the ground, just get up and take that next step. You know, we were very drawn to that vibe and that message, and that's pretty much our careers and our lives, you know what I mean? So, and then we just went in the studio and just finished it up, and you know, we had to really make it ours. We had to make it speak our language or whatever, and you know, a day later, here you have it, One Step, you know what I mean? So it's a very, very powerful song. It's a very strong message. It's a much needed message, I think.
It feels like it almost has more of a rock vibe than sort of your classic hip hop kind of sound. Is that a direction that you see yourself maybe moving more towards in the future? Or is this just one step in a different direction just for this song?
Just one step.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, the album Take the Stairs and all of our albums honestly just have like, I think we try to go into it and we are trying to be limitless in how we approach it. So some songs are rock. I mean, if you play another song on there, it's completely classical. Play another song on there, it's just like Miami bass. You play another, you know. But the violin seems to kind of weave everything together and make it, you know, cohesive because of that. And then for us, I mean, it's just like, you know, when you go into it without any expectations, then, you know, hopefully you're creating the best, you know, art that we have. And that's kind of how we do it. So yeah, that definitely has more of a rock feel, but, you know, the violin's still there and it's still, you know, intertwined in there, and it is still us, and we're still being true to ourselves in our art and our craft.
That's actually a perfect transition for our third guest that we have today in studio, and that is a St. Louis musician, Brandon McCadney, who's better known as Mad Keys. He's a local music producer who works in hip-hop and jazz with electronic and funk, and he also plays the violin, which is why we kind of liked this pairing, people taking violin in interesting and unusual ways, and he's got an album coming out in January. So Brandon McCadney, Mad Keys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So how would you describe your music?
It is very hard to describe my music because
that's why I thought I'd make you do it. Yeah,
it's just because I'm inspired by so much music, from hip hop, from jazz to classical to funk to gospel, pretty much everything. I listen to a lot of music, so a lot of it has been inspired. My music is inspired by a lot of other music, so it's kind of hard to kind of put it in the box.
Now, you're also classically trained.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about your background in music.
So I started playing violin in the 4th grade, and I didn't want to play the violin.
What did you want to do?
So
nobody wants the violin. It's feeling very neglected today.
It's funny because my mom said, so I wanted to play the saxophone. My mom said that she didn't want me on stage passing out. So I'm like,
is that a problem with the saxophone? People are passing out?
That's why I'm like, come on. Then I wanted to play the drums, but she didn't want me making all that noise in her house. Mm-hmm. So then she's like, why don't you play the violin? I'm like, I don't play no violin.
but you did end up taking it up.
Absolutely. And, I have no regrets. I love it. And since then, I'm still playing today. I love playing, and it's just been a part of my what I do.
So we've got a cut from your upcoming album, and it's called New Again. Let's listen to that. That's New Again by St. Louis musician Brandon McCadney, who is known as Mad Keys. When did you first have the sense, Brandon, that violins could go beyond just the classical?
I would say around high school. I met a good friend of mine. His name's Mario Turnage, and him and I, we butt heads a lot in high school. And it's funny because we were both in the advanced orchestra, so we would play. I would hear him play music that was on the radio all the time, and he was at the time, Trey Songz was out. He was playing all Trey Songz. We was like, man, I'm trying to be like that, man. So I'll go home, try to play. I try to listen to what I'm hearing on the radio or whatever, and then I try to translate that over the violin, and I'm just studying what he's doing, and that's when I started learning. I can, violin isn't just one dimensional. It's not just classical. It's it can be whatever it is that you want it to be. So,
and when did you become aware that here's these two guys who are really taking off as musicians who have built their career on just that? So
it's funny, like the moment I started, getting more, I say when I was in college, my family was like, yeah, I see you playing the violin, you still doing music. You check out this group, Black Violin. People were sending me links, stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, let me check them out, And then later on, I started seeing their work, and then even some of their latest videos, like Stereotypes, and that being captured, showing those images of what happened here. It was just really cool to see how other Black violinists that are doing it, violas. It's really cool seeing that how how you guys were able to create the violin, make the violin the main instrument, the main focal point of the music. So I think more people need to see that, and that's something that definitely inspired me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part that when we talk to kids about it too, it's just like the hard part is to find this thing that you do differently than everyone else, and then convince everybody that that's cool, and that and the fact that we are Black guys that play the violin, and sometimes people are like, oh well, you shouldn't be doing that, or what I mean. Like, to me, I think we ran towards it, just like you, we run towards that kind of well, we ain't supposed to be doing this, so we use the thing that they say, the reason why I get you, which I guess is our Blackness, is why we couldn't do it, we shouldn't do it, and then we put that in the forefront. And then now we're doing something that, that we're creating a completely different lane. And it sounds like that's what you're doing at the same time, So it's, awesome. It's definitely great.
So that pushback of people saying that Black men shouldn't play the violin, where do you think that comes from? Or play the viola, for that matter?
I mean, I think it's just the culture of classical music has always been this, prestigious, elite, untouchable entity, so to speak. And it's just historically, just Black people haven't really had the access to not just classical music, just anything that's had that stigma behind it. You know what I mean? So classical music is just no different. Even now, as we speak, we have interviews all the time when classical individuals are just kind of what's the state of classical music as we stand? I'm just like, well, the state is it's literally dying away, you know what I mean? So it needs people like Black Violin and Mad Keys to kind of bridge these two gaps, so younger kids are more interested in the music and the art form, because it is a beautiful art form. But historically, classical music has just been that guy that's in the corner with drinking the wine and sipping on the
old white man.
This old white man, just real fancy. I'm not gonna touch him, And he doesn't care about branching off and try to connect with other individuals, because he's always been good. He has the listeners, he has the supporters, but now the supporters are literally dying away, and he's just like, what am I gonna do? What you got to do is you got to be more inclusive. You got to be more, open to allowing other people to come into this world and respecting the way they express themselves within that world. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, we don't really think too much about it. We're just going to do us no matter what. We don't really care about anyone's opinions or whatever. We're going to continue to be who we are and express our art form the way that we want to.
So you did address that very topic in the song Stereotypes that Mad Keys mentioned just now. Let's listen to that.
An often unfair and untrue belief that with a particular characteristic are the same.
Stereotype, an unfair and untrue belief
that many people have about other people
or things.
Stereotype, a standardized mental picture that is held in.
Pueden predecir el comportamiento de una persona basada en su raza o nivel social. Estereotipo.
That's Stereotypes by Black Violin. So tell us a little bit about this song. What's the origin of this as a topic?
Obviously we're the kind of group that breaks stereotypes, and that was kind of something that we went into the studio trying to figure out. Is just like, all right, well, how do we make a song that really kind of speaks to that? So this song, as far as creation is concerned, it was the two of us and also DJ Infamous, and we just kind of started messing with like bump booms and just kind of messing with those, and we're like, we like it, and then put a trap beat behind it, and like literally, like I think this song it took us an hour and a half to write this entire song.
So it came to you so
it came
easily.
to us really quick, the music part, and then once we finished with the music part, we were like, well, how do we bring stereotypes into it? So then we were in New York recording it, and then I sent a text to my wife, and I was like, hey, I need everyone in the house to record a different definition of stereotypes. So every time I hear it, I hear those were my three daughters, my mother, my wife, and the producer of our album, and then our tour manager at the time speaking the Spanish part. So when I hear it, and now I think, I'm like, man, that was like 5 years ago, and I hear my daughters, and they're so much older now than when they sounded in that. But it was just a perfect fit for the song, and just to hear different kids talk about stereotypes. And so for us, we just want to push people to break them, because honestly, I think we are where we are because we went and we challenged what people thought was possible. And I think that the pioneers in this world are the ones that do that, where at the beginning you're like, what are you doing? And then you use that thing that they think is why you shouldn't do it, and you use it as a weapon almost. And then now, so I think it's important for everyone to, to just kind of disregard, hey, you're too old, or you're a woman, or you're a man, you can't do that, you're white or you're black, you can't. No, run towards it and highlight that difference. And that's basically what the song's about.
So I know you guys really place heavy emphasis on educational outreach. You talk to, I heard 100,000 students every year. What's the hope? What's the message you want to convey to them?
Well, the message is simply just be yourself, be who you are unapologetically, and just work as hard as the next person next to you. Because a lot of times doing our shows, our show is impactful. It's really dope. But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about the violin necessarily. It's about taking something that's been around for 400 years and doing something different with it. And what can you do with your passion, whatever that you have a passion for? It doesn't matter what it is. Just do it over and over again, and someone eventually is going to pay to do it. Not only that, but you're going to able to. We need a world of just new thinkers and new innovators, and that's what we try to really teach the kids. And you have to be yourself in order to do that. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need another Black Violin or Mad Keys. Just be whoever you are and be amazing at that which is that you love and that you have a passion for.
So, Brandon, Mad Keys, you're also trying to make an impact here in St. Louis, and I know something that you've got a passion for. You've got a one-day music conference next month. Give us just the overview of that. Yeah,
so, just touching on what you were just saying, that's something that I'm very passionate about, just trying to find, in what ways can I provide value to things that I find that I'm passionate about also. So we're a business partner of mine. I consider him my brother, Orlando Vine. We're planning this conference called Beat Day, and essentially it's a one-day conference devoted toward the advancement of music producers and music creatives. So we're having it's going to be an all-day event where producers and artists will come and play their music. We'll talk about their processes. We have a tech company we've partnered with that's going to be talking about music tech and their software. We have a panelist where we're going to be discussing digital marketing and just branding when it comes to music. And then we're also going to have a showcase. And we're doing a lot of other things too. We have a lot of giveaways, and we partner with a lot of brands and CIC, St. Louis, and Tech Artista. So it's going to be a really, really powerful event where we're just really trying to give so much value and to give so much to, because the city, St. Louis, there are a lot of music creators here. Like there are a lot of people that are really that are very, very highly talented, and we just want to do what we can to give them resources so we can use the scale to be better and to grow.
Well, Brandon McCadney, better known as Mad Keys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And Kev Marcus and Will B of Black Violin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Podcast episodes of St. Louis on the Air are available at stlpublicradio.org, or you can subscribe for free on Apple Podcasts, the Google Podcast app, or wherever you get your podcasts. St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio 90.7 KWMU. Thank you for listening. I'm Sarah Fenske.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.
St. Louis Public Radio's The Gateway gives you the day's news first thing every weekday morning. From the ever-evolving relationship between St. Louis City and County to developments in the Missouri and Illinois state capitals and reports from our correspondents in Rolla and the Metro East. We put it all in a roughly 10-minute package with clarity and context. Download The Gateway wherever you get podcasts.